Ready? Okay. Well, Ben, thank you for your presentation tonight, and thank you for coming back, and welcome you back to Taylor. I know that there are a number of people here tonight that weren't here last time that you were here, and so tonight this will be their first chance to get to know you a little bit. But we have a few questions that we'll be asking you. These questions have been compiled from the board from the last interviews that we had. And then I believe at the end, there'll be an opportunity that Mr. Green will be collecting questions from the audience that we'll filter through, and we'll be able to ask those questions as well. So if you're ready, we're ready.
Thank you, I am.
Okay. Mrs. Stellini begins our questioning again tonight.
How has your education prepared you for this position?
It's a great question. I have the unique experience, or have had the unique experience, to have grown up all over the world. My father was a Foreign Service officer and a diplomat, and so I was born in Washington, D.C. I grew up in Germany, Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, Austria, and went to high school in Northern Virginia. I've forgotten my Greek. I was 2 and 3 and 4 years old, but I used to jabber in Greek according to my parents. But I'm still fluent in German, because I was there from 1st grade through 4th grade, and then again later on. I think growing up, going to international schools, going to public schools here in Virginia, going to schools overseas has really given me a broad sense and appreciation for different programming and different ways to reach kids. I know I, as a kid, was a little rambunctious, and I might have been that kid that was a challenge at times in the classroom. And I applaud those teachers that worked with me, and I really benefited. Coming up through college at Wake Forest and all my graduate work, I really focused on how to make sure you reach all children. My philosophy is we should build educational programs for all kids. It's easy to teach the 70% of the kids in the middle of that bell curve, but how do you have a program that's going to reach and meet the needs of all? I think I have a unique set of experiences in my background, and unique set of experiences working as a school administrator, as a teacher, and as a coach that can kind of help forge that vision moving forward.
Thank you.
So the next question is mine. Given your experience working with unions, how do you plan to create a unified team mentality?
I think with open and honest communication, I believe once we're all pulling the rope that same direction, we have that shared vision that regular meetings, regular conversations about the topics that are mundane and the topics that are challenging are how to keep, kind of keep everyone on the same page and work together collaboratively. The key to making progress towards the goals we define is everyone on the same page, and that takes frequent meetings, frequent discussion, and collaboration. And at times, I've got to compromise. It's not just me. It's the team. I'm a firm believer in all heads, in the room are better than just a few. And so if I have marginalized some, then I'm losing. The students are losing. The district is losing. So I really work hard at making sure it's an inclusive working environment, and everyone's ideas are welcome and appreciated.
All right, Tom, next on here, our assistant superintendent for instruction will also be retiring in June. What would you be looking for in the next person to oversee our instructional and curriculum?
Well, that brings a special challenge, obviously, and I would be leaning heavily on the board's experience and on central office administration experience as we put together a posting to find the new assistant superintendent. I would want to make sure I looked for somebody that was going to bring some complementary skill sets to what I know I bring, and somebody who hopefully has experience here in the district. There very well may be that candidate right here in the central office or from the building administration level. There may not, but it would be incumbent on me to make sure that I found those complementary skill sets to build a true sense of partnership here at the top. And then someone who was able to work and communicate openly with all the central office administrators, as well as the building level and the instructional coaches and so forth.
What would you want your first accomplishment to be as the new superintendent?
Well, I think having heard that last question, that might be one of my first accomplishments. That would be very high on the list. I think another one would be that folks could say, hey, isn't that, folks would recognize me. If I were in an elementary, if I were in the Career Center, if I were at Kennedy High School, I would want folks to say, oh, isn't that Mr. Williams? And there's only one way to do that, and that's get out there and meet the people and meet the staff and go to the ball games and go to the PTO meetings and be visible and make those connections. If I don't have those connections in place, then I'm truly leading blind. I've got to build those relationships and just jump right in and get it done.
Okay, this next question's got a couple of parts to it. Why are you qualified to handle the Taylor School District's budget? And what would be your first steps to familiarize yourself with the budget and to make sure we stay out of deficit? How would you begin to build a fund balance?
Well, I'm qualified because of my experiences and the work I've done. What I've been able to do, looking at the current district I'm in, is take a district spiraling toward deficit that was down below 5% and make some very difficult decisions that were data-driven, that were supported by the board to tighten the belt and get us back above 5%. And you don't just do that with cuts. You do that with creative programming. You do that with grant writing. You do that with trying to build those partnerships. Work with, for example, we forged a partnership with the local Native American tribe for a 2% matching grant for all of our iPads. So you have to get out of the box. You have to get creative to find those resources because you can't cut your way out of into a solution most of the time. It takes a shared approach. I do have a master's degree in school administration. The program I went through required us to pass the ISLLC exam, which is a Midwest and Southern regional exam that shows competency in training in all things fiscal and instructional as far as those leadership competencies go. But ultimately, it would be my job here to learn as much as I could from the CFO about where those opportunities are for efficiencies, and then working with the team, build a common sense approach to making sure we retain the kids we have and that we're attracting new kids. There's always opportunities for new programming that helps you market the district, and so that would be one of my key priorities coming in.
Ben, what steps would you take to raise student achievement and advocate for student needs?
Working with the central office administration and our instructional coaches and building leadership, as well as the teachers, I would want to make sure that we had really taken a close and strategic look at our curriculum. Is the curriculum aligned from bottom to top? Do we have a math series in our elementary schools? Is it the same math series? Are we working with common final assessments in the middle and the high schools when we have students taking finals? Is Algebra 1 in one high school the same as Algebra 1 in the other? How do we know? And so if we have those shared department meetings and we're looking to build that sense of common assessment language, and we've done an assessment audit, then we truly know where our kids are, and we know that our instructional programming over here, we may have a guru in teaching geometry in this building, and have we brought that person on board to help lead professional development? Have we looked to find those resources internally to help lead us to the next level of growth and student capacity? Oftentimes, you don't need to hire the outside person to get the job done. You have the people right here, and it may be a matter of freeing up someone and supplying an extra prep. If you're going to lean on them pretty heavily during the fall for PD, then of course you reward their expertise and help them lead you on to higher student achievement. So it's really about finding those resources. It's about ensuring alignment, ensuring you're using your formative assessment pieces to capture student data early in the year so you have opportunities to make instructional lane changes and really move people in the right direction.
What would you hope to accomplish in your first 6 months as superintendent?
along with all of the orientation pieces I went through, I would want to make sure if we had any bonds that were coming up in the November election, that we were completely prepared for those, that we had messaged those to the best of our abilities, that those were successful election endeavors, that any outstanding contracts and or negotiation processes were moving forward smoothly and amicably with collaborative work, and that, you know, assuming a summertime start, 6 months out, midwinter, we're looking at midterm assessments, we're looking at data with our instructional staff, and we have kids who are learning, we have programs that are building on the strong foundation they currently have and getting better, and then with those mid-year benchmark assessments, making some strategic decisions about what do we do from now till the end of the year, so we can really ensure we've had the most growth possible out of this school year. Each year and each week and each day, that's precious time. And making sure you're working with each day and each instructional hour is paramount to growth.